Hey folks, I'm Saeed, the Codogrammer, and in this video we're going to take a look at a software company called Postman, their products and what makes them tick and more. Now you might be wondering why we're looking at a software company when this is a programming and tech YouTube channel, but the thing is software doesn't exist in a vacuum. Most of us, if not all of us, use open source software, and in many cases that open source software was open sourced by for-profit companies or is backed by for-profit companies. Other tools that we use, such as Postman, have quite powerful free versions with paid add-ons and upgrades. So if you're interested in coding and making software, then I think it really pays to know about the software companies behind a lot of these tools, to understand the business around software tools and software development, because it may be that you go on to start the next big thing. And Postman is one such company, so let's get into it. But before we do leave a comment in the comment section below to let me know if this is a useful and informative format and you'd like to see more of it, or whether you'd prefer if I just stick to programming and tech content. All right, let's get into it. All right, so founded in 2014, just 8 years ago, which seems like yesterday, by a chap called Abhinav Asthana. You probably know the company from the tool that shares its name, Postman. But the real kicker is that Postman is a company that's valued at $5.6 billion. Now, just to put that into perspective, that's 3 billion coffees from Starbucks. It's 5.3 billion packets of Walker's crisps or potato chips for my friends in the US. It's 1,181,623 Vauxhall Cavaliers. Anyway, I think you get the idea. So that makes this company a unicorn. No, not one of those, rather a privately owned company that's valued at $1 billion or more. And by privately owned, I mean not listed. You can't buy shares in it. They do, of course, have investors. Now, Postman is all about APIs. APIs are application programming interfaces. In simple terms, this is how software systems talk to each other. And in the modern world of microservices rather than monoliths, there's a lot of chatter that goes on between apps working together to deliver a service. The founder, Abhinav Asthana, started coding when he was still at school in Uttar Pradesh in India. He later went on to work at Yahoo, where he was working with, well, you can imagine, lots of APIs. And managing APIs at scale can be really challenging. Then as a weekend project, he started building the Postman Chrome extension. Yeah, you heard that correct. It started off as a Chrome extension. If you're a long-time user like me, you probably remember using the Chrome extension. Well, that small weekend project ended up with a recent funding round of $225 million, valuing them at a whopping $5.6 billion. But they raised money before that, 1 million, then 7 million, then 50 million, then $150 million before the latest round. So in total, they've raised an eye-watering $433 million. So if you want to compete with them, you might need very deep pockets or something that is an order of magnitude better than what they currently have. There are 17 million developers using their products. Now, if there are around 26 or 27 million developers worldwide by some estimates, then they have a huge market share, something like 65% at least in terms of user base. In the UK, you're said to have monopoly power if you have just 25% or more of an industry share. Now, there are many other factors that go into such a determination, so I'm not saying they are a monopoly, but they are a very big player in the API management space. So back to Abhinav, he was smart enough not to try and do this by himself, and he brought in two other co-founders, Ankit Sobti, the CTO, and Abhijit Kane, who leads API tools. Now, what's the range of products that Postman as a company produces? Now, if you're a developer or a tester, given the stats I already mentioned, it's very, very likely that you've already used their tools, their flagship tool, which is Postman, the tool for firing off requests to an API. But they have other products too. They have a public API network. You can think of this as Docker Hub is for Docker images and what GitHub is for code, or the public API network is that, but for APIs. If you build an API, you can share it here. Obviously, you want people to use it. And if you're looking for an API, you can find it here. And note, it is completely free. So this facilitates discovery, search, sharing, all that good stuff. They have over 35,000 collections of API requests. And that number was from 2021, so it's probably a lot more now. You can see what it looks like here. They have API repositories, so you can centrally control and manage your API definitions. All of Postman's tools point back to the repo. They have private API networks. These are catalogs of your internal APIs. Basically a private version of the public API network for your organization. If you're a big enough organization, that could be really useful. Now, in terms of lower level tools, they have the API client, which is their flagship product, which is the one that everyone's used, but you can also use it for API design with formats like OpenAPI, RAML, etc. For documentation, Postman will present your API documentation neatly in the tool where you're working with your APIs. Now, if you have an API, you lose time with people asking which is the right endpoint to call. And when you tell them the right one, then you lose time explaining how to use it. So this is a really important feature. Postman will actually generate code in a plethora of languages for your requests. Incredibly useful if you want people to actually use your API and get up and running quickly. And I'm not sure how well known this is, but you can actually test your APIs with a tool called Newman. You can do this inside Postman or part of your CI/CD pipelines. Now, when it comes to mocking, you can obviously create mocks in tools like WireMock, and there's a bunch of other tools as well, but you can also directly do mocking in Postman itself. There's also a tool called Postman Interceptor, which is a Chrome extension which you can use to intercept traffic for debugging. Now let's have a quick look at intelligence. Once you have your APIs in Postman's ecosystem, you can start to get intelligence from them. You can get security warnings for misconfigurations on your APIs, which is crucial in this day and age. You can search your own APIs for endpoints. They have a very powerful search engine. And as we said already, in large organizations that have a lot of APIs, a huge amount of time is wasted with developers trying to find the correct endpoint and how to use it. And in the same vein, you can access a bunch of very powerful reports to understand the state of the APIs in your organization. They have workspaces. This is where your team can come together and collaborate with notes, comments, requests, documentation, all that kind of stuff. And a quick word about integrations. You know, a lot of products become incumbent because they integrate with nearly everything. So they kind of mesh themselves into the fabric of the system landscape, and then they're almost impossible to dislodge. Well, Postman is no different. They have a ton of integrations, whether it's Slack for communication, GitHub for code, Jenkins for CI, Datadog for monitoring, PagerDuty if you want to be woken up at 2 a.m. because there's a typo in your API. They have an extensive list of integrations. Now, to cap it off, they even have a novel. Yeah, you heard that right. A novel about an API first world. Let's take a quick look. Now, before you cry foul, this video is not sponsored by Postman at all. I have, however, used their products for many, many years and seen them evolve. Now, by the way, if you're enjoying this video, hit the like button. Hitting that like button tells YouTube that this video might be a hidden gem between all the prank videos and the reaction videos and all of the other clickbait. I'm hoping to get 5.6 billion likes for this video, so I appreciate your help. And of course, don't forget to hit the big red subscribe button if you don't want to miss out on this kind of useful content for developers and tech folk. Now, a lot of tech companies produce a lot of press releases, which are quite bland and pretty useless and could possibly be replaced by a tweet for all the benefit you get from them. However, when companies produce reports complete with fancy infographics and surveys, well, I tend to find them a lot more useful. And Postman produces the State of the API report, which we can check out. One of the stats which surprised me was how little experience most of the users have, with just 1 or 2 years of experience. All right, let's have a look at careers. Now, you can tell a lot about a company by looking at their career opportunities and how they are reviewed. So first things first, they've got a pretty good rating on Glassdoor, with a great rating for the company and an even better one for the CEO. And I think that's not that common. The CEO position can be difficult to please everyone, so it's hard to get a good rating. In terms of jobs available, let's take a look. So if you join the company, you become what they call a postmanaut. I suppose that's because calling you a postman has a different meaning in the UK, but in the US it's a mailman, so not sure. So the big takeaways for me are that they are a remote first company, which is a big bonus. I work as a software engineer and typically travel into London once a week or once every 2 weeks, which works for me. Let me know in the comments if you go into work more or less than that and how that works out for you. All right, so looking at the roles, although they are remote first, they do specify geographies for the roles. I guess that is so that teams working closely are on similar time zones. They currently have 117 open positions listed on their site. It's not bad, but I would have expected more, but it's probably because they've already filled a lot of the roles since they went remote first, and obviously they've had that big funding round. If you work there, let me know in the comments below. Now, in terms of their offices, they are headquartered in San Francisco to be closer to their best paying customers, I'm sure. They still retain their offices in India, but strangely, they have 2 offices in Bangalore, maybe split across functional lines, I don't know. Now, in terms of what's coming up for Postman, they have something called Postman Flows, which is no-code or maybe low-code alternatives. You can drag and drop your API flows where you can chain calls together. But at the time of this video, it's still in beta, but a nice looking feature nonetheless. And this can facilitate pre and post actions that you would normally need JavaScript skills for. Now, in terms of pricing, pretty typical pricing, I would say, that you would expect from an organization like this. I actually think for the amount of usage that Postman typically gets, it's a pretty low initial pricing, considering how much devs and testers are actually paid. All right, so we looked at a company that many people know from a single tool, but the scale and breadth of where they've taken it is absolutely insane. It's now a tool that's used by 500,000 organizations around the world and can add some serious value, especially to organizations with large numbers of APIs. So maybe your next side hustle could be too. Just make sure it's not an API tester, but something a little bit different. All right, folks, I hope you found that useful and informative. If you did, make sure you hit like to let YouTube know that it's useful content and they can show it to more people. And if you're not already subscribed, make sure you do so you don't miss out on future tech content, tips about companies, software, products, programming languages, all of that kind of stuff. Thank you for watching.